Hi, I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Sophie, and we are here to help guide you to the why behind your wellness why.
Come join us on our journey. Hey, Sophie.
Hey, Chelsea.
How are you doing today?
I do have to say, like last week and this week, I don't know what day it is, and the week feels like a month.
I woke up on Sunday of last week thinking it was Monday. Like, I literally woke up, was getting ready for my workout, and then I was like, nope, it is Sunday. And I don't have clients in a couple of hours. And anyways, so I feel you on that. So today we are going to be diving a little bit deeper into strength training. Last week we took some time, or I should say Sophie took some time to explain some of the terms of strength training, and we are going to talk a lot more about that today. So I'm excited to learn from you, Sophie, and I know you have a lot to talk about, so I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Chelsea. I do want to start with so much of this depends on your goals. So strength training and being in the gym is going to look different for every individual. And I used to get this question a lot from my mother. Which comes first, cardio or weights? And again, depends on your goals. But it's a good question. And I'm going to say for the average person, it doesn't really matter. If you're like an Olympic athlete or a professional athlete, it matters more. But again, so much goes into that, like fueling your body properly and just time in between, like 6 to 8 hours in between your cardio and strength workout, if you're like really looking for that. But for the average person, again, depends on your goals. If running is a little bit more of your goal or cycling, do that first, I would say. But if you're really looking to get stronger and build more muscle, I would say do weights first. And back in my days at a gym in Chicago, after I ran in college, I was psycho. I would go run 5 miles and then I would go max out on my deadlifts. I don't know how I did that looking back, but again, I am way stronger now, not doing loads of cardio before my strength sessions.
And I'm trying to think, I guess that was 2 podcasts ago when we talked about the foundations. You also talked a little bit about potentially like separating those 2 things too, depending on your goals. So doing strength training or weights X amount of days, and then more like cardio based X amount of days. So
Yes.
It sounds like there's not really a right or wrong with that either. It really depends on your goals.
Yeah, 100%. I would honestly say like some of my clients that do homework on their own. I have a young woman that's a great example that's getting into it. And she's like, so I'm just going to cycle strength day and then like cardio/walking recovery day and just alternating. And I'm like, that's perfect. And it's easy for her and it works. And just getting into what a basic, say, strength workout would look like an order of a strength workout. In my ideal world, again, there's many ways to do things, would be doing some movement prep and a couple things to get your blood flowing before just jumping into a strength workout. So like doing some world's greatest stretch, opening up your hips, your chest, doing some 90-90s. Everybody knows that I love those. And then doing a big movement if you are progressed to that, like a squat, deadlift, or bench. Usually those are done alone, but if anything with my clients, just to fit a little bit more in, I will do a squat or deadlift paired with a push-up. It's just a little bit easier on your grip. You're not doing a deadlift and then doing rows, which can just tire out your grip. So you can deadlift better and push up better. And then after some of those main movers would be some smaller strength movements, like split squats, walking lunges, things like that. And then again with like rows and shoulder press, and then paired with some core movements. And then to end, if we have time, a little bit of some high intensity like sled or bike sprints.
I love that. And I'm sure this depends too, but I know especially with strength training, you see the time vary a lot. Like you see 30-minute workouts, you see people in the gym for 2-3 hours doing some type of strength training. What would you say is the general recommendation for most individuals?
So, great question. I probably don't have the right answer, but I would say just be consistent. Like, if you only have 30 minutes, do 30 minutes a day. If you have an hour, sure, do an hour a day. But like the whole 2 hour thing is a little much. And you do not need to do that. I don't feel as though it is sustainable with a person for a normal job. And with working out longer doesn't necessarily mean you're working out harder and benefiting from that any more than you would even say a 45-minute workout. But good question.
Yeah. And we talked about that. I don't think in regards to this, but in another podcast, we had talked about like quality over quantity. And I think this is a great example of that is you really want to look at the quality of your workouts versus, again, like someone could be in the gym for 2 hours, but if the quality of that workout isn't benefiting their goals or they're not doing what's best for them, then it actually might be more harmful than helpful.
Yes. And like I would rather, like, say someone is working out for 2 hours Monday and Thursday, and that's all they were doing and all they could do. Well, okay, if that's all they could do, I would take it. But if they were able to spread it out and say do 30 minutes 4 times a week, I would almost rather take that because then you're just getting consistent blood flow and using your muscles and just spreading it out better.
Yeah. And it's more realistic when you're not putting so much pressure. And like you said, most of us don't even have that amount of time in a
Right?
typical day. I wish, right?
Same. So, talking to a client earlier this week as well, we were kind of talking about her workout schedule and how strict she could or wanted to be. And I thought it was great for her to mention that. And me personally, I used to be pretty strict and I would lift 6 days a week. And I wouldn't really like to sway from that. But as I've grown, I've been lucky to just more so go with the flow of what my week allows. And I personally think I'm going to be a shooter, how everyone should work out, because it's just, again, unrealistic to think you can work out an hour 5 to 6 days a week. And we need to be a little more graceful with ourselves. And I think, sure, if you have a lighter week and you can go a little bit harder that week, and then the next week you might not be able to, that's fine. That's also going to allow you not to get burnt out.
I love that. Yeah. And I think, again, it kind of goes back to everything we're talking about, it being realistic with your lifestyle, which is all about what my business is about as a dietitian, is making wellness in general realistic to like where you are in life. So I think that's so important. And I talk with my clients. I actually just finished up a group program, and on our last call, we had talked about the consistency thing. Like we were using the example of something even as simple as water. Maybe instead of hitting your water goal because it's so high only 2 days a week and then feeling like you failed the rest of the week because you didn't hit your goal, like bring down your goal to a more realistic place with where you are right now, and then you can expand it when it is the right time. So
Love it.
I think that can be applied to strength training too, it sounds like.
Yes. And as for like times a week, which I think we mentioned this last time, again, once a week, sorry, hate to break it to you. It's not really going to do anything. If that's all you could do, great, I would take it. But I would prefer 2 to 3 times a week of strength training. That's where you're going to get muscle gains and you're going to see progress and hopefully get to hit every muscle group at least once. But again, life happens. So be somewhat easy on yourself with that.
Perfect.
Let's talk about effort level. I feel like there's somewhat of a stigma. Sometimes people think they like have to or need to go to failure, which is not the case. And I think more and more science is finally coming out about it, which guys, there's some science about strength training, and okay, maybe there's a lot, but I feel like it needs to be updated. It's not as updated as I would hope. But I'm just going to tell you that, and there's also a difference, right? Okay, there is maxing out, which again should really only be for athletes. And that doesn't include you being, a high school or collegiate athlete if you're maybe in your 30s and 40s. But then there's mechanical failure, right? Where you're keeping your form, but you're going until like right about when your form is going to break, which is fine. But again, I'm just saying you don't need to or have to do that. I like to have my clients effort level at about a 7 to 8 out of 10.
That's
which
good to know.
works. Yes.
I have a good question for you, Sophie, because I hear this all the time. And I used to feel this way. So I'm curious to know if I'm doing this right or wrong. Soreness. Let's talk about soreness for a second. When you work out, specifically strength training, should you always feel sore afterwards, or can you just like talk about soreness in general? Is it better if you feel sore? Does that mean like my workout was more effective, less effective? Let's just talk about it.
Perfect. Good question. No, you do not have to be sore after a workout is the short answer. And soreness does not equal muscular gains. It can also mean and be a sign of that you're under recovering, and under recovered, like you didn't sleep enough, eat enough,
Or under eating, which I guess goes with under recovering.
Yes, under eating, or not necessarily eating what your body needs after a hard strength workout. And I'm just going to refer to this article, which I can put in the summary blurb, that technically DOMS, which is delayed onset of muscle soreness, is caused by like a type 1 muscle strain to some degree, like a fiber damage, but it's nothing like too serious. And there's other reasons that there's doubt that soreness is correlated to muscle gains, because you can get sore from running, and running does not cause muscle gains like strength training. There's going to be like a little bit, and then that's it. And it also talks about, which is so true, if you are too sore, that can like hinder your workouts then for the rest of the week. So that can actually cause worse effects, and you not losing, you're not going to lose muscle gains in a week, but just hindering positives.
That's really, really helpful. And like I said, I definitely fell into this years ago. I felt like if I wasn't sore after a workout, it quote unquote didn't count. And then just like people are like, oh, I'm not wearing my Apple Watch, I can't see how many calories I burned. It didn't, the workout didn't count. Yes, it did. But anyways, I digress. But no, that's really good to hear, because I feel like so many people fall into that of, oh, I didn't get a good workout because I'm not feeling this in one way, shape, or form. So that's good to hear that it's not always beneficial to feel like so sore.
Yeah. And me personally, I don't get sore that often. I don't know if it is because I ran for so long that like which cardio doesn't cause me soreness either, unless I like were to go sprint today, I would be like a little bit sore tomorrow, but again, nothing where I'm like dying of aches and pains. But I do think it can be slightly tied to genetics, and I don't know if they've looked into this. I'm sure it can do, because literally everything else is connected to genes. But I have to say, I think that plays a role, because some people get, sore all the time, and some, like me, I get sore maybe 2 to 4 days out of the month, and I strength train probably 25 days out of the month.
This might be a really silly question, but what about in terms of how strong you are? So let's take like a new client, for example. If you start a new client, are they more likely to be sore in the beginning because they've never done this movement, they've never done the workout, versus that same client maybe a year down the road? Does that make a difference? Or can you talk a little bit about that? Because I also don't want people taking it away like, well, I guess you can answer this too. Like soreness isn't always a good thing, but is it always a bad thing too? So I guess maybe like, let's just make this a little bit more black and white.
I don't think soreness is always a bad thing.
We have to look at the full picture.
Yeah, you have to look at the full picture. And I will say, like, a newer client is probably going to be a little bit more sore just because it's a new stimulus. Like, again,
Absolutely.
if someone had never run before, yeah, you're going to be sore for a few weeks, just like you will be in the gym. But honestly, again, like I said, if someone is so sore where they like can't do anything the next day, to me, that says we did too much. And or they are under recovered, under ate, like all those things that go with that. But so I really ask clients at the beginning, like, how do you feel? Because I need to know if we need to take a step back. And then if they're like, I'm not sore at all, I'm like, okay, we can probably push it like a little bit more. But again, I'm not going to like throw 100 pounds at them.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Because with that, I'm going to get a little nerdy. My senior seminar as a kinesiology major in college was the effects of heavy strength training on running economy. But with that, I learned a little bit more about the muscle and how the first 2 to 4 and maybe 6 weeks, but more so 2 to 4 weeks, are purely neurological changes. And then that 4 to 6 plus weeks is more muscular changes. So when people are like, I don't notice anything, or I don't like, nothing's changed. Well, you're really not going to see changes for at least a couple months. And again, that goes with a bunch of other things you have to change, like in your eating habits and lifestyle habits. But just so you know, there's a lot of neurological things going on at the beginning, and you're not going to see anything.
Yeah, that's really good to know, because I think both you and I hear that, and we just live in a society where we want instant results all the time. So what would you say? I guess you kind of already answered this, but like, so a client comes to you with a body composition goal, what timeline would you say for them to start seeing change physically in their body? And this obviously is so dependent, but
yeah, it's so dependent. I mean, like for brides, I tell them I would start strength training 4 weeks minimum before, months.
I was gonna say, I was like, wait, I don't think I agree with that.
4 months before, or like 6 would be better. But I mean, I would say at least 3 months, like a consistent 2 to 3 times a week strength training. But also as someone that's brand new to strength training, I don't want to just necessarily throw them into 3 times a week either. So I like to have a month-ish of like twice a week and then build from there.
Yeah. So it depends on, number 1, your goals, number 2, what you're doing, how many times. Yeah, all of that.
We like to call it training age. Like, are you a toddler? Or like, are you like a teenager, an adult in the training age, you know?
Yeah, there you go. I love it. Okay, so you had mentioned soreness. We just talked a little bit about soreness and the importance of recovery. So can you tell us what recovery looks like? Is that like an active recovery? Is it laying on the couch doing nothing? Just talk to us about that.
I would prefer my clients to have more of an active recovery lifestyle.
Love it.
Although this past Sunday, actually, you know what? As hungover as I was this past Sunday, I did a little active recovery. I went on a 30-minute walk.
I love that. And I can't believe you did that. And we're laughing because Sophie and I have been messaging back and forth and sending voice memos. And she was telling me about her weekend. And I was like, girlfriend, that does not sound like you, but also like so much fun. Yes, we are health professionals, but we can party too.
We believe in everything in moderation and sometimes moderation.
I was gonna say your weekend this weekend was not moderation, but we've all been there. So
Yes. Um, but preferably, yeah, an active recovery. So literally 30-minute walk, kind of more of a brisk walk, not just a lollygag, or like a jog. But I will never make anyone run. I will not, I swear. Um, yoga, something you enjoy to do with a friend, like tennis, go on a bike ride in the summer along the lake. There's so many things you can do for recovery.
yeah, I love all of that. Thanks for sharing that.
Of course. And let's just talk a little bit about tools in the gym. I know we spoke a lot about terminology last time, but what you find in a typical gym is a bunch of dumbbells, barbells, and machines. And I personally think you get your most bang for your buck with dumbbells and like barbells. I'm not the biggest machine gal. We spoke about machines all the time in college and how, yes, you can usually lift more with a machine. That's because you're using more of your major and main muscles and less of like your core and your stabilizers and planting your feet into the ground well and engaging your whole body. Especially more for like newer people in the gym, you can engage your entire body and do all that if you're more of a trained individual. But again, we do not walk attached to things, hopefully. I mean, we might have walkers and canes someday, but I just think using dumbbells and breathing properly and engaging everything, including your small hip muscles and your core and like your feet, is just so much more important and beneficial in the long term of life.
Yeah, I liked how you put that because I think this is kind of what you're saying too, but like with functional training, it's things that then you can apply to your everyday life. And I think dumbbells and barbells and that type of stuff help to, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Not like mimic it, but mirror it a little bit better than like sitting on a machine. So that was a good way of explaining that.
Yeah. And with talking about what's in a gym, let's talk about if it's a little crowded, just so you can, learn that it's okay to ask someone to like work in. That's, I guess, the gym terminology. Like one of my clients was telling me she's a little bit older, that she went to the gym and she asked if she could use something and the person was like, no. And I was like, well, that's a little bit different than asking if you can work in. Because he might have been like, well, no, I'm using it. But like, if you're like, can we share it? That's a little bit different. So just look at anyone and be like, hey, can I work in with you? And you guys can take turns, because you're not gonna, like, you will need to rest a little bit. You're not gonna use it the whole 10 minutes you're on it, but just for people that are nervous to do that, don't be afraid. And I have had people say no to me a couple times and I'm just like, okay. And I go sub the movement.
All they can say is no, like what's gonna hurt?
And an easy thing, like say it's a row machine, then just go grab some dumbbells and do some rows. Or if it's, like knee extension or something, try and just pick a movement that is similar so you can still get the benefit you were looking for.
I've seen this on Instagram a lot, and it just, obviously it's a joke, but it like cracks me up. Have you seen the thing? Maybe this is old and I'm just also old, but where people ask people if they can come on the Stairmaster with them. Have you seen that?
Yes.
And it's just, obviously I don't think that would happen, and not recommending that, but it's just like,
hey, you never know.
Makes me laugh every single time I see that.
You never know.
True.
Okay, so something I wanted to mention, Chelsea, was just like strength training. There's this saying in the training world, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I want to say that you're kind of going to have to saddle up and do a lot of the same thing. Like my clients and I do the same, like maybe say on the higher end, 25 movements on repeat. And that's like kind of what you need to do. Our bodies need to adapt over time to the same things. That's how you're going to see progress. But like if you're someone that gets bored, you're going to have to kind of figure it out, or like do more of the thing where you just strength train twice a week and then do a cycling class. And then, the fourth day is your pick, which is fine as well. And kind of at the end of the day, I hate to say it, and some people might disagree, but I will say movement is movement at the end of the day. Sure, there are some, maybe, I don't want to use the word better, but just maybe higher on the hierarchy movement. But yeah.
So my last question for you, Sophie, is talking about the difference between how you put a workout together. So we hear a lot about, or I hear a lot of, okay, I'm going to do a different body part every day. So leg day, all of that different stuff versus like a full body strength training session. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So kind of more so lifting with like your body parts is very old school and bodybuilder and a little bit less functional, some will say, whereas like doing more full body is more efficient with one's time if they only have so many days and is more athletic. I do full body with all my clients, whether like one guy I trained 3 days in a row and I see him 4 times a week, but the last 3 are all in a row. So we will work different body parts. Or if I have a client traveling and they still want to do their 2 sessions, we will do the whole last time. Remember, we were talking about push pull. So we'll do like lower push, upper pull, and then lower pull, upper push. So they're not like too sore or anything that like we'll be using the next day. And I just want to say, never skip leg day. Your legs are like half of your body. And when you're lifting legs, you're also probably holding the weights with your upper body and engaging your core. And just as I know, Chelsea knows, is like our legs are really big muscles. So it's going to be easy to, I don't want to say, but, and this is hopefully not the only reason you're working out, but maybe burning more calories. And things like that, building and using those big muscles of your legs.
Which I feel like this is pretty obvious, but maybe for those who are new to strength training, leg day also includes like glutes.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
And to me, like core, to me, leg day is like everything. But yeah, good question. And I will say, like, how I train, I will usually split, I'll be honest, but that's because I have more days. Like I'll do more of like a full body leg day. So like push and pull, like hip dominant and knee dominant leg day. Mm-hmm. And then the next I'll do more upper body. And then the third day, maybe I'll do more of active recovery. And then like, again, if I'm going on vacation or I'm limited time for that week, I will do full body.
So it sounds like this is kind of it depends question as well.
Yeah. Yes. But like I said, it's more, it depends on your goals. All of this does. But again, I will say like the splits where you're doing like back and buys and then I don't do that. And that is very much bodybuilder, which is no right or wrong. It's just going to get you to different places.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I want to add in just really quick. So at the end of last week's call, I started bragging about you and how amazing you are as a trainer. Can you take a minute and just talk about some benefits of working with a personal trainer or how that might be different? I think we kind of talked about this in another podcast, but for someone who might just be listening to this podcast, can you talk about the benefits of working with a trainer or like the difference between just like following a plan that they found online or that they created versus working with a personal trainer one-on-one or partner or whatever?
Yeah. So like the benefits are, personalization, which you don't get in a class or with just an online program who's like never seen you move. In a class, it's hard for the person to get around to everyone and give you form help. And for safety, I don't want to bash group fitness though, because it's a great side dish to the main event. And because both can also give you an extra push. And then trainer accountability, you cannot cancel on me. I will not let you. And just help you stay on track. And reach your goals. And I just want to mention like the best of the best of trainers. And some are like, I feel like embarrassed or something to have trainers, which I don't get it. I've also had a trainer before, but like Tiger Woods has a trainer, all those NBA players, Michael Phelps had a trainer. Like it's a way of life.
Yeah, I know for me, I'm not currently working with a personal trainer, but when I have in the past, I think the form and safety thing has helped out so much. I mean, especially for me as someone who has had injuries in the past and surgeries, it's just been so helpful to learn that like a movement I thought I was getting a lot out of just by tweaking my form. It's like completely night or day. So I just wanted to throw that in there too, because some people might be following a workout routine or a strength training program that they have been forever. And they're like, but I'm not seeing change or I'm not getting anything out of it. And I think that's another good time to maybe reach out to a personal trainer just to see what might be going on.
So it's funny you say the form thing again. Like one of my clients, I've been working with her for a year and a half. And like at the beginning, I was correcting her form like more than I was like towards the end. And then that's when we get extra fun and get to push it harder. But she was like, I've been lunging wrong my whole life. And I can guarantee you're probably planking wrong. I don't want to use the word wrong, but you can do it differently where you'll actually feel your abs instead of just holding a plank, which I'll tell you the trick on here right now. Is when you get into an elbow plank, you're going to pull your elbows to your toes and your toes to your elbows, and you're going to kind of get that elbow skin slack out. And you're going to keep pulling it the whole time, and you're going to feel your core, period.
There you go. That's the tip of now, everyone. The food for thought and takeaway is go try a plank that way. There you go.
I love
That's our food for thought. Okay. Are we missing anything else? Any last words?
It's never too late to get started.
I love that. There you go. Last takeaway. It is never too late to get started. Well, thank you for joining in, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening.
Bye.